We're live.
Okay, this is the Senate Education Committee on the afternoon of February 13th. For the first half hour, we're going to spend some time hearing from representatives of Upward Learning, which I assume will include telling us a little bit about what Upward Learning is. So I don't know how you want to do this. Who's going to introduce it? Are you going to go in teams, or what do you want to do?
I'm going to introduce Upward
Okay.
Learning, then we're going to toss it over to.
Okay, so the witness normally sits.
Sure.
You want to move a chair around?
Yeah, well,
Because what Keisha constantly just moved down.
okay.
I heard you.
Yeah, please go.
Sit over here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Applications-
okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Please remote.
Anything else?
So
This will be for a quick second.
you can also pull chairs up
Yeah,
together.
like
if you
bring
want.
them up closer. I'll move this back around.
Go ahead and do it right now if you want. Oh, yeah.
Or when I'm done.
Okay.
Mine will be
Yeah,
30
then swing
seconds.
that out of the way and they can come up with their chairs.
Yep,
Okay,
great.
off we go.
Off we go.
So first, so we'll introduce ourselves.
Great.
First,
I'm Nader Hashim, representing Wyndham County.
Seth Baumgart, I represent the Bennington Senate District.
Steve Heffernan, I represent the Addison County District.
Great. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having us. My name is Lindsay Hallman. I'm the Executive Director of Upward Learning. That stands for Unleashing the Power Partnership for Learning. We are a nonprofit here in Vermont that works with schools and districts across the entire state on reimagining and transforming education through youth adult partnership. So our work is to center youth voice in everything that we do to make sure that young people are at the table when we're talking about decisions, both small and large. And we do that through, and you'll hear today from our youth partners here, through youth participatory action research. So with all of our school and district teams, youth and adults are using data from their community, the voices of their community, to really understand what are the needs of young people and adults in our community, and how do we create schools that are best for everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to Olivia and then let you all push up here, and maybe, should I just sit here? I don't sit here.
So just to help us, you're in central Vermont. You're in central Vermont, folks. Yes.
They're gonna tell you, yeah, they're
Okay,
gonna give you all.
Okay, you're gonna, okay.
Yeah.
Got it all done.
Yeah.
So the way we do this, everybody, is if you're, all of you are going to be testifying, if you go around right now and tell us your name, what school you go to, and what town you live in.
Perfect. I'm Olivia Scharnberg. I'm a senior at Montpelier High School, and I'm also a youth program specialist with Upward Learning.
And you live in
I live in Montpelier.
Montpelier.
My name is Allegra Muller. I live in Montpelier and I'm a senior at Montpelier High School, and I am here because I care about the education and how it is going to affect future universities.
My name is Charlotte Patton. I'm a junior at Randolph Union High School and I live in Randolph Center.
I'm Zoe Tremblay. I live in Brookfield. I'm a junior at Randolph Union High School.
My name is Harold Quayle. I'm a sophomore at Randolph Union High School, and I'm here because I believe that every student is different. My name is Skylar Barnard. I live in Montpelier, and I go to Montpelier High School.
My name is Ian Cass. I'm a junior at Montpelier High School, and I live in Montpelier. And I'm here because education is always improved by students.
My name is Jota Armstrong. I go to Randolph Union High School and I'm in 11th grade. I live in Randolph.
I'm Otis Taylor. I'm a freshman at Montpelier High School, and I live in Montpelier.
So I can start us off. I'm Olivia. Okay. So we are here to talk with you today to share the work from our youth adult team that represents the diversity of Central Vermont. We're called the Future Vermont Education Team. The purpose of our Future of Education team is to attempt to bring student voice to the school redistricting process. We all believe that the redistricting process should include those who are directly affected by the changes being made and should prioritize student voice. Students from 3 different school districts, White River, Randolph, and Montpelier Roxbury, we hope to share our process of gathering perspectives from our community members and to share the differences that we realized between our schools when connecting with each other. White River is not able to be with us today, so we're going to be speaking for them. Yeah. So for our project, from discussing with the other student representatives at our retreats from our 3 different schools, we've realized the differences between our school communities. There are differences in flexible pathway opportunities and educational opportunities that are available for students. And there are differences in the strength of our school communities and the relationships within them. I know that I wouldn't have been able to succeed as greatly without my school relationships, communities, and other opportunities at Montpelier. So we went back to our individual schools and asked questions to students, staff, and our communities in the form of circles and listening sessions that focused around the questions: what makes a great school, and what does education that prepares you for the future look like? We found that in every discussion at our respective schools, teachers and students reached the same conclusions that we did, that we'll share with you in some slides. And some of us have already shared this presentation with school board, select boards, city councils, and other community groups in our towns. But yeah. This is the youth participatory action research map that's used by Up for Learning when conducting research with groups, and we followed it while working on this project. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but we started off by building relationships with each other from our different schools as students because we had never met each other before this project. And then we collected data through the circles previously mentioned, but in our own like smaller communities. And then we all brought the data back together and analyzed as a group the data that we collected through the circles. And then we're the final step for implementing action for change we're doing through presentations like this that we're here with you today. And yeah. I'll pass it to Christian, right? Or no.
So these are some of the ideas that of how we can create future-facing education that came up in multiple data collecting sessions. With more time, we could more fully understand the different learning opportunities between districts, flexible pathways, amount of support, sense of belonging, and the data around disparities. And one thing that we noticed a lot was that despite different backgrounds and experiences, we all have a lot in common. And so with the time and data that we had, we created this blueprint for future facing schools. These are 5 different elements that we found for a great future facing school, and they are academic freedom, variety of opportunities, real world community awareness and involvement, support belonging to a strong school community, and consistent expectations. And we're going to go into more detail on these things.
Yeah, so one of the most prevalent pillars of education that came up was academic freedom, or in other words, how our education should be shaped in a school setting. So academically, these students want classes that support our goals and ambitions for the future. For instance, students learn at different rates. It's important to ensure that no matter what level the student is at, there are flexible options available for them to ensure everyone across this academic spectrum can receive the education that best suits their needs and future academic goals. The second pillar was variety of opportunities, meaning that we want opportunities outside of a class setting, more real world applications to support education. So for example, we want more opportunities dedicated to exploring and learning about the world inside and outside Vermont, whether that be through real world community service trips or smaller scale field trips that introduce us to possible career paths for the future. Exposure that education outside of class setting offers is incredibly valuable to be embraced with the potential inspiration it fosters in students. These methods of learning offer practice for the future in team building, social skills, public speaking, leadership, real world experience in fundraising, all which are skills that are essential for many in their futures. Delving deeper into what we need to be successful in our futures and post-secondary pathways, we found that more opportunities around these possible pathways is incredibly important, as those pathways are the real world application of our education. The third pillar is real world community awareness and involvement. This pillar reiterates in a different light the fact that we want to learn about the world both within our communities, but also outside of them, the current events, stuff like that. A mix between the outside learning and inside the classroom learning. For example, we don't just want to learn about what occurred right before our generation, we also want to learn about what's happening in the current moment and the things that impact us most.
Our 4th pillar consisted of a sense of belonging to a strong school community. A close community where students can voice opinions is important to building a strong community. Within that community, all members should have some sort of relationship where they can speak comfortably to each other, students, faculty, and peers, to get to know each other in some way. Creating more safe and inclusive spaces is also important to building a strong community and allowing students to explore their identities in school. a quote from one of our retreats is adults empower student voice and students empower each other. And our last pillar was consistent and reasonable expectations for students. The idea that it is important to ensure all students are given the opportunity to succeed include giving more attention to accommodations to individual students, allowing students to fail safely and learn from their mistakes, as well as ensuring communication between students and teachers to provide a foundation for good relationships to enable effective education. More preparation for the real world outside of school is important, as well as keeping consistent expectations to ensure students know what to expect from the teachers and their education.
So we are here representing a small subset of Vermont, even the central Vermont, and we know that the redistricting process is moving ahead very quickly, and we wonder how you will ensure that the priorities of youth throughout the state are being considered as you make these decisions. How can we help you consider our voices as you make decisions rather than after you've already made them? That is our question to you. We welcome your answer to this and then open it up to your questions for us. We believe that the next step should be connecting with more youth across Vermont, noticing the similarities and differences between what they all are saying, and thinking about how we can do more with what we've learned throughout this process. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ben? Any questions? Any? So, before the session started, once the session starts, it's really hard for us to get out of here and visit schools. So we visited, went to 5 districts before the session started. Rutland, Canaan, Rutland, CVU, the White River Valley, and then Woodstock, whatever that Woodstock supervisory is that 5? Up to 5? Yeah, up to 5. And each time we had student panels. In fact, that's one of the reasons we did it. We had teacher panels and student panels because normally when we're here, we tend to hear from like the associations, like all the superintendents will be one person or all the principals one person. And we wanted to hear more directly from the field. And what you're saying to us is reflective of what we heard tonight. All I can say is I think the committee is very much aware of the simple way to think about it is we're really looking to provide excellent educational opportunity for every student in the Vermont school system. So that's what we're trying to do. And we have to do it within the realities of what taxpayers can pay, because your parents, some of them are probably a lot of them won't even hear about it, how their property tax bills are. So we're trying to figure out how to simultaneously keep the rate of increase in spending, which a lot of Vermonters can't pay their property tax bills now. So keep that rate of increase at a level that's sustainable. At the same time, we're actually trying to figure out how to improve education while we do it. Which is, I think, at least part of what you're saying. Do you feel like you have, like, do you have real opportunity to form relationships with your teachers and with each other?
Yeah.
Is that pretty? Yeah.
What do you feel? Oh, yep, go ahead. You would start.
Well, I was going to ask, kind of on that line, from your positions as students, how you're seeing the workload on teachers and whether it seems like, I don't think you have any teachers that would maybe speak freely. But, if you, from your positions as students, feel like your teachers are overworked, or do they seem like, they're pretty level with their workload? I mean, there's a lot on teachers' shoulders. And so I'm curious as to what observations you've made in your positions.
I know I'm a player. I think a lot of them do a lot to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And they do everything they can to give us the best education they can. And I think probably most of them try not to show it. And I would assume that they're overworked.
I think Montpelier does a good job of like, there are very strong staff relationships
Right.
between the staff at our school, so there's lots of good support systems in place at Montpelier for staff when they're stressed. But talking with White River, and especially a teacher from White River that was a member of this group, but they're not here today. White River definitely struggled more with that like overwork and stress
Yeah.
from staff and students as well. So I think it really depends on like, even though Montpelier is larger than White River, like Montpelier teams like seem to have a better kind of support system in place for that.
I think the level of administrative support
Yeah,
Montpelier House versus White River was really different, and I think that kind of is what contributed to the difference in feeling overworked and feeling like supported.
I know, personally from many teachers who I've talked to, because I have a very good relationship with a lot of them, that almost all of the ones that I know are struggling with feeling overworked and feel like they have a lot on their plate. But then they're like, they feel like they can't complain because they know how much pressure the students are going like have. So then there's like a balance of both of the students and teachers knowing that they're very overworked and can't really fluctuate or like control how much like pressure they put on themselves because they're trying to put as much out to the students that they can in the short box that, or like the small box that they have.
Yeah, that, we certainly, when we visited the school, plus we all live places to know our own schools, so we visited others, but I think we really got a sense of how much teachers care and how hard they work in trying to provide opportunities, and doing things after school, and helping with clubs and other things that they all do. So we had a real sense of that. In some places, it's very clear, I think, that what's required of them is really a lot, and they're giving it. So we really felt that, I think, as we went around. Did you have a question, Sandra?
Yeah, so do you believe, what do you believe is missing, or are you pretty well fulfilled in your schools? Is there something real, like you go, I'm missing this, and you don't have the option to have it? Or does the school do a very good job of to your individual needs, meeting your individual needs? I saw, it's really the only way you can. I saw individual learning very important, but when you're trying to educate, you have to do it at mass scale. And if you're really struggling, that's when you have your IEPs and that. But the general population, it's the fastest to do it as a group. So that's the way we've always done it. Maybe continue, maybe not. But are any of you missing anything in your education? You go, I just cannot get that. Or is it being basically fulfilled?
At Randolph, we have, I know academically, since it's like middle and high school, so since 7th grade, I've like always coasted under the radar because there's nothing there to challenge me. And I came from a school in Minnesota, which was like, they didn't shut down necessarily when COVID happened, or like they didn't struggle when COVID happened. They kept running, plowing through. So when I came to Randolph, I saw a decrease in the academics necessarily, where I was just struggling to get hard work and I just couldn't learn basically. And I wasn't given the opportunity to challenge myself until this year, my junior year of high school, when I was able to take APs, because we weren't allowed to in 9th, and the only 10th grade AP was computer science, but the teacher caused it so not a lot of kids took the class. And then since I wasn't able to learn in the younger years or like really apply myself, it's kind of a struggle now trying to learn and trying to push myself because in the past I never had to. So I think definitely at Randolph, they have a lot of support for kids who need academic help, but they don't have a lot of support for kids who need the academic challenge. And we don't have like a variety of classes that would allow me to not be in the general class. So like kids who need help are put in the class who are excelling.
How many in your high school?
It's
Right.
like 365
From 9 to 12,
from 7th to 12th,
Yeah,
7.
including the tech center, Randolph kids.
That's small.
I was gonna say that going to Montpelier, I think we're pretty lucky to not be lacking in
Yeah.
talent and to have a lot of extra opportunities, but I was gonna speak for White River because in our like meetings with them and in our meetings about the other schools, they kind of were saying the same thing, that the no child left behind kind of policy was leading to a lot of kids not being allowed to go beyond the kind of feeling trapped. And I can speak to that a little bit. I think that Montpelier has a lot of extra opportunities, but I was always someone who in middle school and elementary school and freshman year never really had to I never had to do that much to do well. And then all of a sudden when I started challenging myself with harder classes, it was like a slap in the face, a little bit of like, this is how you have to learn to study, you have to learn to do this. I had to do it all on my own. So I think the same thing. And then also Montpelier has a lot of flexible pathways that I think without those, a lot of kids would not be graduating high school. I think a lot of kids would not be coming to school if they didn't have those opportunities. And I think that Randolph and White River, you guys both spoke to like not really having those same flexible pathways. And I know a lot of kids who wouldn't show up if it wasn't for those opportunities to get them to school.
And how many students in Montpelier?
I think we have 400.
And that's 9.
Yeah, so it's around 100 per grade.
Yeah.
I also go to Randolph, and I can definitely see what Zoe was saying a little bit. So freshman year in high school, I kind of tried to take as challenging classes as I could. Sophomore year as well. And so for my next year of high school, I don't necessarily have classes available to me that will actually challenge me because I've taken as many hard classes as I can earlier on. So next year, I'm not really sure on what I'm going to do because of that.
And do they have a chance to do AP courses?
Yeah, I took the hardest AP classes earlier on, which is why I don't really have.
And have they looked for avenues for you to continue to maybe college courses in that? Have they?
So there's what's called dual enrollment available for sure, but it's kind of hard because transportation, everything like that. There just aren't opportunities within the school that will kind of support kids who need more advanced classes, I guess. Like we have the beginning stages of like AP Physics, AP Calc, stuff like that. We don't have the more advanced classes further into those subjects.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I'm Montpelier. There's no advanced classes up until 9th grade. And then for me in 9th grade, there's only the option to test out of Algebra 1 and it's called Integrated Science. And so it's only 2 classes that you can take more advanced, and you'd have to take online classes. There's like the school doesn't offer any ways to actually learn to test the material to test out of them. So I think that having more advanced classes earlier on would be a good improvement.
And when you do get to take those advanced classes, I think we have 7 out of the like 25 AP classes.
It's scary when you go on to think about college and you look at other states and their academic level and their opportunities, and then you look at like your school, and you're like, oh, I'm scared to go up against these people.
So talk to us about opportunity, just a couple more minutes. Talk to us really about opportunities, because one of the things that we're thinking about a lot with this legislation is how to provide more opportunities for kids. So how would we do that? Is it through larger schools?
I know at Randolph we have a lot of opportunities to travel, but we did have like obviously like field trips and like the funding for that got cut. So we have to really support it, and Randolph we have a large percentage that's in poverty. I think helping like putting more funding towards field trips and exploring those like the avenues outside of school where you get to travel a little bit and experience like how things actually function and new opportunities like that would help. And other people want to talk about any other things.
I can speak for Montpelier a bit for that. Montpelier, we really pride ourselves on our like flexible pathway opportunities. And I'm in like a personalized learning study where you like make your own course. And I've turned my work with for learning as like a staff member into that. So I get like a class credit for that that'll count towards graduation while I get paid, which is very helpful. And I've noticed this kind of connects back to one of the first statements that you made about like teacher burnout. where you have like a teacher like that kind of oversees your personal like class that you create, and they kind of help you create that course. And my teacher, Miss Bello, really is like really invested, kind of inspired in my work. And I've noticed it makes her seem less burned out. She's more enthusiastic about having students help me collaborate for these projects that are like this. So I think kind of changing the norm that teachers have to go out of their way to create these opportunities and kind of making it so that students are more aware that they exist and students can take them on themselves will kind of reduce the teacher burnout, and it will allow more opportunities for students to do things like this in the future.
So we have to, unfortunately, have this stop.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. We've actually learned something from this.
Yes.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear from you. Take some more M&M, there you go.
I get to take it.
Well, it's up, yeah, I represent.
Yeah.
Oh, it's smart. Yeah, they're like, give us some academic rigor.
Oh, stand here outside.
Yeah, it was a.
Thank you so much.
Let me see you.
Yeah.
It's fun to see.
Yeah.
I saw your name on the list. I was wondering if you're gonna be on Zoom or in person.
Are you kidding? I have a chance to come up here and see you. This is so. I do have a message on
I'd be interested in.
one of the testifiers, Jason, will not be here.
Okay.
And
Okay, sure.
is this happening? T-shirt on.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Dad.
So
Good to see you.
welcome to this. Come in and sit.
Okay, so Jason will not be here.
All right.
Today.
Second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby, for all your help. You're welcome.
Are we expecting anything else in the next couple of minutes?
No, I think this is all of us being out. Let me shut the door.
Okay.
Like you could look on TV.
I don't. A lot younger.
You have longer hair and you're a woman.
Okay.
We have one person online, I think.
Yes, the first is, I think is on Zoom, and then these two folks.
Okay. So, welcome, everybody. Level off, so it's still the Senate Education Committee, in the afternoon of February 13th. We're shifting gears. So one of the things we're doing is kind of doing a little work mirroring what's going on in the House. So we're sort of thinking things through sort of at the same time. And we have had over the first part of Act 73 passed last year. Some of it's in place. And some of it is dependent on what we do this year. I know you all know this. And one of the possibilities is that we follow through on what was called for initially in the legislation of a map of some sort. And so the House has put forward a map with, I believe, 27 potential districts, all SDs. And so we're trying to get a feel from people. We've had people sprinkled through the week, and here we are on Friday with you being the last sprinkles for the week. And we're just trying to get a feel from the field. We always hear from the associations, the Superintendent's Association, the Principals Association. One of the things this committee's been trying to do all year, starting with our visit out to the field in December, visit out to school districts in December, is really get a feel from people who are actually living it, people on the ground, principals, school board members, superintendents, community members. And so I think you're kind of in that vein toward the last of that description. And that's been really important for us to hear from people like you. So the theoretically order for today is for you to offer some insight and thoughts about both the map as, and I have to be, Chair Conlon wanted to be made very clear, it's not a proposal, it's a concept. He knows the lines aren't right. But then there's the whole question, well, anyway, and then there's all the accompanying language that came with it, which is equally important. I know you're all on top of this and thinking about it. So, yeah, so we're just trying to get some initial response, gain some initial thinking from the field, and so we'll introduce ourselves. We have a guest senator here today.
Senator Pat Brennan, Grand Isle County. You're
Committee, but filling in, which was great.
filling in. Not a Michigan Senator from Wyndham County.
Seth Baumgart's from the Bennington Senate District.
And Steve Heffernan from the Addison County District.
So Eric, I think you're first. In fact, I know you're first. I don't know if you've testified before, but it's for the record, your name, why you're here, what you're associated with, and we always like to know your town, what the town you live in too.
Okay. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Eric Malbryan, and I serve as chair for the Wells Springs Unified Union School District. We operate 2 pre-K through 6 elementary schools, serving the towns of Middletown Springs and Wells. And we're part of the Greater Rutland County Supervisory Union. Today I'm happy to speak about the work that our board has undertaken and the impacts of House Education's proposed map, on our communities. So
I can't help interjecting. My wife, school nurse for those 2 schools for a handful of years. And that was after she retired. She had always wanted to be a school nurse and finally got the chance, and it was with her 2 schools. And she had the time for life I don't know if she was sort of semi-retired.
It's a small world. Yeah. Okay. All right. So since the introduction of H454, we have engaged in regular structured conversations, both within our district, supervisory and union, and neighboring district. So over the past year, we've held joint board meetings and with our neighboring district and to discuss common concerns and ways we might cooperate to advocate for legislative change. First, we had jointly submitted a letter to legislators advocating for school choice. Later on, our district communicated to the redistricting task force the importance of remaining in a supervisory union and to extend the conversation to the supervisory union level and even neighboring districts. And later on, we also communicated in a joint letter to the task force, advocating to preserve school choice. And in addition, having community forums throughout this to ensure that all stakeholders are part of the conversation. So this House Education map really isn't workable for our district. It threatens both our long-standing school choice model and the supervisory union structure that allows small districts like ours to function effectively. As a pre-K through 6 district, we tuition our students grades 7 to 12, and this gives families meaningful school choice while allowing us to focus resources on strong elementary programming. If we're merged into a larger, fully operating pre-K through 12 district under this map, that choice model would be eliminated or significantly restricted, fundamentally changing what families in our district have relied upon. And at the same time, we support the supervisory unions eliminating SUs, the shared service framework that already delivers efficiencies in business operations, specifically like special education, transportation coordination, curriculum support. Supervisory unions allow small, locally governed districts to collaborate and control cost without surrendering community voice. Replacing that structure with large consolidated districts risks centralizing decision-making farther from our towns while dismantling systems that are currently working. In our case, The proposal does not solve an existing problem, it creates new ones by forcing mergers. So, we recognized back in 2023 the unsustainability of the status quo as it was. So we initiated exploration into cost containment measures at that time, specifically engaging in discussions regarding our own consolidation within the district. So looking at the legislation now that's in place, moving forward with this significant education reform, we're just not simply asking for no change, but more of a fundamental shift toward a collaborative and respectful process, advocating for a more constructive path forward. And, we would encourage the support of empowering BOCES and CISAs, also reinforcing the role and capacity of supervisory unions, and of course encouraging voluntary mergers. And over the work that we have engaged with over the year really identifies that our willingness to enter these conversations, and this approach supports collaboration and respects local choice, and is far more helpful and effective and thoughtfully and strategically reshaping education to better serve the needs of our communities. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Not sure I have any questions. So
Just a quick one regarding your second point regarding the supervisory unions and finding administrative functional efficiencies. Just quickly, can you lay out what a few of those efficiencies might be?
I think a huge component to that is shared services, especially through education. We've seen that over the years. As an SU, I think with the supervisory unions' roles to provide special education, we've seen that this can be shared.
have you been able to do that through the supervisory union, share those services with special ed?
Yeah, I think there's we've had a number of programs that have been shared throughout the supervisory union, and yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. And you're very welcome to stay on the line and stay with us, and if you might come back to you. But if you have to go to work, that's okay too. But welcome to stay as long as you would like to.
Okay. Thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Thanks. So our next witness isn't able to make it, so we're on to Lisa McGrath.
So I'm Bob Chutter, and we're kind of together. So we're gonna
You just pull up two chairs.
you want to switch chairs or slide out so we Thank you for having us. So
for the record.
Yep. I am Bob Chutter. I live in South Hero, member of the South Hero School District and chair of the Grand Isle Supervisory Union.
I am Dr. Lisa Calarude. I am the superintendent of Grand Isle Supervisory Union, and I live in North Hero.
How many students in the SU?
I'm sorry?
How many students in your SU?
Including our high school students, around 900.
Okay.
That's it. So I will start. Happy to answer questions. With over 30 years in the community, almost 14 years as a local school board service, and a career leading an R&D software engineering team that supports instrumentation data analysis for medical research worldwide. I have a deep understanding of both complex systems and Vermont's school funding landscape. board member, I worked through major shifts in Vermont education policy, starting with Act 60 and Act 68. Was able to skip Act 46, but now Acts 173, 127, and now our current situation. I've seen how that change affects rural communities differently. I'm also a citizen of the state of Vermont and know firsthand the affordability crisis that has developed over the last 10 years. Because our residents are geographically isolated and deeply connected to their schools, preserving local decision-making is not just a preference, it is essential to ensuring our students have equitable access to education and our communities maintain democratic engagement. Grand Isle County takes education and affordability seriously. When Act 73 was proposed, our supervisory union and member districts proactively engaged our communities and legislators through countywide and district public forums starting last April and continuing through the summer. We developed a thoughtful response that met both in our minds the spirit of Act 73 legislation and our aspirations for our students. This work resulted in a shared resolution across all districts and the supervisory union to merge into a single district. The resolution also indicated that we should reach out to potential partners in Franklin and Chittenden counties to form a larger supervisory union for scale. We did reach out and nobody responded or wanted to partner with us. We want you, the legislature, to treat us as partners in this transformation because we are part of the solution. Our island community operates differently. In Colchester and Milton, Route 2 is the only southern entry to the county. And it exits in New York State near the Canadian border. We have one connection, Route 78 from Alburgh in the northern part of Grand Isle County over to Franklin County. This geographical isolation must be considered in any governance change. Our community believes the next step is further consolidation in our county, and we want to stay together and not be divided up and parceled out. We've already closed 2 of the county's 5 schools and understand how to balance strong learning environments with responsible taxation. With about 900 students across the 3 districts and only K-8 schools in the county, we recommend merging our remaining 3 districts into 1. We support the consolidation either into a supervisory district, as was proposed by a map from Senator Beck in one of the governance map proposals. We would also support merging our 3 districts into a single district and joining a larger supervisory union. Even though our countywide enrollment has been steady over the last 5 to 10 years, the statewide demographic points to a further decline in student population. We can make tough choices to consolidate further within our county if that is what is required. We also believe strongly in a BOCES-style model to support regional services and cost efficiencies in addition to what we achieve at the supervisory union level. This would be helpful in either of us being a supervisory district or joining a larger supervisory union. We do not support the recent governance map proposed by Representative Conlon as it splits us in half. Splitting Grand Isle County in half ignores both our natural geographic boundaries and the social cohesion that allows our small communities to operate effectively. Because we have already made responsible, often difficult local decisions, including closing schools, we have demonstrated that we're not here to avoid hard choices. In addition to the emerging governance proposals which promise structural change, they do not address the biggest ongoing cost drivers: healthcare, special education costs, inflation, wages, unfunded legislative mandates. Consolidation at the scale currently proposed will shift decisions away from rural communities like ours, increasing the risk that small communities without a voice will be closed by larger centralized governance structure. Longer bus rides and loss of local voice are real fears, but so is parent engagement if schools are an hour drive away. One of the top 3 contributors to student success is when parents are engaged with their children's education. This is an important parent engagement factor will be reduced in my mind if schools are an hour drive away. we're not asking the legislature to preserve the status quo. We are asking for a governance model that keeps decision-making grounded in the communities directly affected, respects the unique geography of our island county, and empowers us to continue implementing sustainable student-centered solutions. Treat us as partners, not recipients, designing a system that works for all of Vermont.
So maybe, what, do you want to go first and then we ask questions? Either way.
Yes, of course.
Why don't you go first, because you may end up answering questions, so go ahead, why don't you go first?
I
Less
think
questions involved.
this will be more the fact side, and mine will be a little bit more, a little softer.
So, so my understanding is that, so you, as you said, all your kids are, your high school kids are tuition. And where do most of them go? Because I think my understanding is also that most of your kids end up going to public tuition in the public high schools. Is that true?
That is true.
Yeah.
So there's a smattering that go to New York State because of geographic proximity. But then Franklin County and Chittenden County, Grand Isle, South Euro students mainly go to Chittenden County schools
like
South Burlington, Essex, Colchester.
Okay.
Those are our three top.
Order.
Missisquoi, St. Albans, and Rouse's Point, NCCS, Rouse's Point.
Okay, so they go to 8 or 9 high schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And which districts did you explore, put out feelers to?
Franklin West, which is the Missisquoi High School, SU, Colchester, and I think it's Maple Run is the other district that's St. Albans, St. Albans area. So those are the three that we directly, and Milton directly reached out to them. We at least got a response from Colchester, but it was, no, thank you.
Because of Mr. Blatcher. Okay. Yes.
Transportation. How's that work for the ones that are going to New York, because they all go to separate schools? How is transportation involved?
Yep. So the Grand Isle Supervisor Union does not provide transportation.
Okay.
It's not true of one district because of New York State. They do run a bus to New York State for those students. For those in Chittenden County, particularly Colchester, Essex, South Burlington, they do run a bus for drop-off points, main drop-off points in the islands to pick high school students up.
And do you get much complaints about that, or people that's just the standard of life and that's how we do it?
Well, I can remember a day where there weren't any bus transportation.
Well,
So
this comes up. This is why I'm asking.
This is an improvement. Yep.
All right. And do the New York bound students, is there any comparison the education they get, maybe the ones who get in Vermont? Are they getting as good, better? Is there any data or analysis on that?
I certainly have an opinion on that. I moved here last year from New York. I spent my 50 years as an educator and a leader in New York State.
Did you say her name?
My name is Lisa Rood, Superintendent of Schools. In my frank opinion, I've done a lot of research in New York State in terms of schools that have low poverty, challenging demographics, schools that succeed. Those schools have considerably more than the majority of schools I've seen in Vermont. There are more opportunities that I've seen. I think when you can get to a larger district like Colchester or South Burlington, you can start to see some similarities, but in rural places in New York, and I'll speak to this a little bit, but New York also has BOCES, which was created specifically to help rural towns share services. There's infinitely more that's accessible in rural communities in New York than there is in Vermont.
Thank you.
Sure. So good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Dr. Lisa Calroot, and I'm the proud superintendent of Grand Isle Supervisory Union. I serve 5 towns: Alberg, Isle Lamont, North Hero, Grand Isle, and South Hero, communities that are beautifully surrounded by Lake Champlain. Our geography is our identity. We manage 113 square miles of water with just one road leading north and one road leading south. We are a unique collection of learners currently operating 3 schools, 2 K-8 and 1 K-6, while tuitioning our high schoolers off island. I'm coming to you today in a nod to Valentine's Day, so I'm glad that you showed up. And I'm offering my testimony as a love letter to our islands. Last year, I moved to North Hero after 50 years in New York State. I chose Vermont, and I chose the islands, but I'm concerned. As we see our state population decline, we must realize that when families see schools leave their communities, those with the means are going to leave the state. This does not solve our problem. It further exacerbates our flawed funding system. In the words of Dr. Cornel West, I am who I am because someone loved me and someone targeted me. I am here because I love our schools, and I'm targeting this testimony towards a future that ensures our kids are not harmed by administrative convenience. So we talk a bit about the geography and the operational reality. Grand Isle is the only Vermont county surrounded by water. Our geography is a physical reality that cannot be consolidated away. I strongly support Senator Beck's map, which recognizes our unique interlake geography, designating Grand Isle as its own unified pre-K district while preserving high school choice. We must be honest about cost drivers. Consolidation alone is not the silver bullet. We need to examine the actual drivers: healthcare costs, inflation, specialized service needs that result in equitable funding. Furthermore, we need realistic timeline for operational modeling. Consolidating is not just a boundary change, it's a massive operational shift. We need practitioner-informed change to ensure student services are not disrupted. Any reform must adhere to a no-harm principle. We must ensure that the advantages of scale do not become disadvantages of bureaucracy that dilute teacher quality and student opportunity. I oppose Act 173 as it's currently presented, but I support a path forward towards unity that is led on the ground. My formal request is this. And this is a statement that reflects a goal that we've created, that by June 30th, 2026, the Grand Isle Supervisory Union will develop and submit a formal reorganization proposal to the Agency of Education. This proposal will outline a transition to a unified union school district that preserves the operation of our local island schools, protects high school choice, and ensures fiscal stability. Think about your own journey. Who saw something in you that you never dreamt was imaginable? I'm here because people pushed me and believed in me, and this is what I want for our kids. Please allow us the timeline to build a model that is operationally realistic, educationally sound, and rooted in the community. Let us move forward with a plan that prioritizes team over self and our students over the red tape. I am who I am because someone loved me and targeted me. May your work be a love letter to all communities in Vermont.
What is tuitions between the 3? Is they all about the same, or does the USU
Tuition that we pay,
yes,
it varies.
Highest to
New
lowest?
York State is the lowest.
Correct.
Chittenden County is about 23 on average, 23K per student. Franklin County is a little bit lower, 21.5
And New York.
under 20.
Yeah, it's around 14, 15.
Any special needs students going with the group?
It's tuition.
Yes.
Certainly the public high schools.
Yes.
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 So do you vote to pay additional tuition above the amounts? The 19,000, whatever those things would be? Because in advance.
I'm sorry.
Do you have to vote? Do you have to vote to pay the tuition?
We don't have any, if I'm understanding you correctly, we don't have any control over what schools charge us. We have to pay that. We set our own tuition to our schools, but that's based on a formula.
Okay, that's only word because like the burn burden order. Burn burden splits out a tuition that's voted on by the voters, whether to approve that tuition or not. But so you don't go through that process. Okay.
We're bound by whatever the
Yeah, because it's.
AOE state formula is of how you calculate tuition.
Okay. So that is helpful. There are only five, did you say 5 towns? But it's all Grand Isle.
Yep.
Okay, it's only 5 towns. Okay. There was only 5, didn't realize there were only 5 towns per town. So
A lot of space in there.
yeah. That was helpful. Thank you.
Very good, Roger.
Thank you. By the way, we have your testimony, right? Both businesses. Did you forward that to us?
We will, yep.
Okay. Okay.
Switch everything back.
I don't know wherever.
I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we'll just isolate the all. I'll be all. Yes, see you later. See ya.
You all set?
Yes.
All right. My name is Dan MacArthur. I'm the chair of the Marlborough School Board, member of the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union Board, and until this past year was a multi-term regional representative to the Vermont School Boards Association. If I could, I'd like to make one correction to the testimony that I sent in. It says at the top 213/2016. Now, I'm thinking I'm 46 because I sat in this very same, it's actually 10 years ago. We could modify that to say 2026. I'd appreciate that. Marlborough is a single town school district, and my board has placed an item on the March Australian ballot to see if the voters will vote to close our small school, which operates pre-K through 8, and become a non-operating school district. We feel like we're probably unique in the state for actually making this move, but a little bit like the people who spoke before me, we feel it's a tough choice, but one that we feel will be beneficial all the way around. I'll get into a little bit more of that, but we did not make this decision lightly, and we've engaged the public as much as possible through multiple public sessions to explore options and preferences, looking as deeply as we can into our future prospects. You will all recognize this is not an easy move to make, especially from a small town with a long history of educational independence. Marlborough College was there for half a century or more. So we're definitely not advocating for sticking to the status quo. Reasons to move for making this move are both financial. We have really plummeting student populations, and the classes are getting so small that educators and parents feel that the classroom dynamic is suffering. And I should have included this with my testimony, but I brought it with me as a chart showing projected numbers of kids in the various classes. And you'll see that we have fewer kids in the youngest classes. It's not, we could continue to run a school if we had 5 through 8, but it's our young kids, and we don't see that changing in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years as far as we can reasonably guesstimate. I went to the same school, my kids went to the same school, and all my grandchildren have gone to that same school. So my thanks for taking the time to hear me today. I want to make 3 central points about small and rural schools in response to the recent proposal, which would create arbitrary maps, eliminate SUs, and eliminate non-operating districts. Others have spoken before me eloquently about the maps, and I'll leave that one alone. I think that Representative Conlon was honest in saying it was just a way to start the conversation. But I'd like to start with the last item that I mentioned, the non-operating district that was on the proposal. Small, non-operating single-town districts are an important feature of Vermont's educational landscape. They can be both financially and educationally beneficial. As it currently stands, and unless the legislature pulls the rug out from under our planning, if the March ballot issue in Marlboro passes, Marlboro students will be able to attend any number of adjoining public schools of their choice. These are the towns that abut Marlboro, each of which run small schools: Halifax, Wilmington, Dover, Newfane, Dummerston, Brattleboro, Guilford. They all run schools. All of them are elementary or through grade 8. But because we currently are a choice town 9 through 12, that would change anyway. So this would just make all of our kids able to choose amongst those various schools. We would pay the established tuition rate, which would be the state average, but there's no, as far as I know, he's sort of like the
Curious about, yeah.
yeah, which is less than it costs per pupil for us to operate the school right now. So save the taxpayers money, and the parents and students would be able to choose by geographical and philosophical alignment. One of the things that's come up in our public discussions that parents have pointed to that they appreciate would be to say, there's a school right across the boundary from where we live, or there's a school that I like their outdoor program or whatever. There'd be some choice within the public schools. I should point out that as of now, very few of our 9 through 12 students will be going to private schools because of the changes that were made last year. So this would essentially be our high school kids would still have the same choice of public schools that they currently have. Second point, small school districts, whether operating or non-operating, benefit by being part of a larger support system. In our case, we're members of the Wyndham Central SU, a long and productive partnership. Emily Long is on the board of that with me, and she's, as you know, is on house head right now. So we have been co-board members of that for many, many years. WCSU serves only small rural schools, so the issues facing the schools are similar, and the SU manages many of the programs that small schools can't do all on their own, all of which can be done more efficiently on a larger scale, while at the same time allowing the individual schools to maintain a sense of the community which they represent and the community which pays for the operation of the school. When SU boards work together well, all students benefit. And the people testifying before me mentioned special ed, and that is one of the ones. Well, it's consolidated by state mandate, but we really feel that has been a huge advantage to have special ed coordinated from a central office. Thirdly, third item that I want to bring up is that our supervisory union is a member of the recently formed first BOCES in Vermont. It just got its recognition from the AOE a couple of months ago. This further consolidates into larger administrative units the needs of small schools, again saving cost and providing non-educational support on a larger scale. For instance, HR, finances, all kinds of purchasing, transportation issues could all be done on a scale bigger than our supervisory union, allowing our supervisory union superintendent to be truly an educational leader. I heard a quote recently, superintendent say, I do boys, boilers, and buses. Well, we're paying these people good money and we appreciate them, but they're spending way too much of their time dealing with issues that are non-educational. So a BOCES would be a way to kind of take that out of their lap and give them a chance to be educational leaders. I want to quote Secretary of Education Zoe Sanders when in the letter that came approving this BOCES, and this is a quote from Secretary Sanders. This is an exciting step forward in regionalizing and improving education services delivery, and I thank you for your sustained and focused efforts to stand up this first BOCES in Vermont. So in closing, my requests are support CSA, CSAs and BOCES. They provide cost effectiveness for services on a regional scale. Support supervisory unions, working with local boards to provide the educational needs of the schools. And most importantly, from my and Marlboro's perspective as a school district that is asking our voters at this moment to change the way we provide education, I ask that the legislature support flexibility for rural, sparsely populated, non-operating school districts. Thanks, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So what BOCES can be set up differently. What does your BOCES do? What services does it provide?
Well, you got to recognize this is 1 month in now. It just barely got going, but Jill Graham is the executive director of it. And they've been working to, other people can answer that question better than I can, but the point is, they have been trying to figure out what they can do and ways that they can then take the loads off the SUs. I wish I could answer that better, but you can see the point at this point. We're just so new at it.
Are you the only, if assuming the school closes, we be the only non-operating town in your SU?
No, Stratton already is.
Stratton, that's right.
You would know that. That would be just the two of us at that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to see you. Thanks for driving up here. And I know this decision has been a hard one for Marlboro. One thing that was mentioned in your testimony regarding pulling the rug out. I know sometimes the legislature, generally unintentionally, can do that with some of the policies that we pass. And I'm wondering if you could be more specific on what we shouldn't do that would be pulling the rug out.
Well, sure, because the proposal, as I understood it, actually used the words to eliminate non-operating districts. And I think, I hate to say this, but I think it was primarily focused on private schools, because as we know, there's a big move not to have public money so in private schools. That was the only interpretation I could make of that. But because it was specifically stated that they would no longer exist, and we've gone through this process to try to become a non-operating district, these two things were converging at the same time. So my request is, don't let that go any further than Representative Conlon's what he called he's throwing it out on the table for discussion. So that'd be my hope and my request.
Thank you. That's helpful. And the other piece, I guess this would be a question that I would need to ask more parents in the area, but I mean, is there, and I guess the vote will determine this too, but is there a growing inclination to send students to other places like Brattleboro or Wellington for school now at this point due to the declining student enrollment?
So we just don't know that yet. We're waiting for the vote, and we actually tried to set the vote up a month earlier. But we weren't able to, the complications involved with that. We weren't able to, that would have told our teachers, everyone who worked for the school district a month earlier, and the parents as well. But immediately after the vote, we plan to have what you call school fair day, where other schools might come and say, well, here's what we offer. We have room for your kids, or we don't have room. And then try to figure out where they would be choosing to go. And I also want to point out that we didn't include it in our budget for next year. Obviously, we have to maintain the building and keep it operative from freezing anyway. And we put in the same number of dollars for transportation as we currently spend, so that once we figure out where kids are going, we would be able to continue to operate our own buses, which we do, hire our own bus drivers, and get them to where it is they choose to go. We may not, again, it's uncharted territory. We may not use all that money, but we wanted to not just leave every parent in the lurch as to where you can have to drive your kids every day for the next year. So we want to try to be as accommodating as possible. And of course, special ed, we're still members of the Wyndham Central SU, so we would still be coordinating special ed improvement as well.
Thank you.
What are some of the other towns in the Wyndham SU? Central.
Wyndham Central. So, well, okay, I said I wasn't going to mention the map, but I will. The map separates Marlboro from every other town in Wyndham Central. Newfane directly to the north, Dover immediately to its west, Townsend, Brookline, Wardsboro, Jamaica, and Stratton. I think are the towns.
And where do most of your high school kids, just what are like two or three of the high schools they go to?
Primarily Brattleboro. It's the closest one. We actually provide transportation for them to meet the Brattleboro buses so they can get there conveniently without, expense to the families. They do have the choice at this point to go Leland and Gray, obviously, or I mean, they could go any number of places because of tuition, but Leland and Gray and the one in Whitingham, which is now called Twin Valley, are options. But I would say, 95% are going to Brattleboro. Yeah. And it's close by, and it's a, it's a public high school. It's what it is. That's some great things there. My grandson is now a freshman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So, Stacy Peters.
Variations on theme today. Great. I'm just going to add to it.
What did you say?
It's variations on a theme
Oh,
today.
variations, okay.
And I will be contributing to that. So hello, my name is Stacy Peters. I'm the chair of the Granville Hancock Unified School District, representing our two isolated towns along Route 100 in Addison County, where we made a difficult decision many years ago, back in 2009, to close our village schools, and now we tuition all of our students. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak to you about my perspective as a member of the non-operating district. So I don't think you've heard directly from many active non-operating districts. I want to set the stage for what that actually looks like. I think perspective is increasingly relevant to the statewide discussion. So
We've heard a lot from Essex.
yes. So you've heard plenty of testimony about how we are all rural in Vermont. Everyone says that. But I want to set the stage by defining what rural looks like in my towns. Hancock and Granville are towns surrounded by state and federal land. About 85% of Hancock is owned by Green Mountain National Forest, and another 10% is privately conserved. Granville itself is also over 50% conserved. There are 9 people per square mile in all of Hancock and 6 per square mile in Granville. Choice is often spoken of as a luxury or some kind of cat dodging loophole. It's spoken of in quiet circles. And indeed, in the national discourse, it's become synonymous with privilege and inequality. But in reality, in our small, isolated rural towns, it is not a luxury. It is a necessity if our towns are to survive. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and let you know what this looks like in my district, where I represent between 80 and 100 kids between the two towns at any given year. This year, our children are attending 21 different surrounding schools. In the 10 years that I've been on the board, between 0 and 9% of those kids end up tuitioning to independent schools. The overwhelming majority of our schools attend the public school that is located in the direction that their caregivers are traveling for work. And our caregivers, nearly all of us travel for work because our towns, in no small part thanks to having closed our schools, have become employment deserts. When I moved to the area, Hancock had the kind of usual small businesses that you see in many Vermont towns. We had a rescue service that provided ambulance service up and down the valley. We had a small home health care with 9 rooms that provided employment for healthcare providers. We had a building supply store and a lumber yard. We had a nice B&B. Our neighbors in Granville had a really nice pub, and they had a general store. And all of those businesses have closed. Now, I know that the conversations that you're having are stemming from the reality of population decline, but I can tell you through this example that closing towns doesn't reverse population decline, it exacerbates it. As
Closing schools.
Closing schools, yes, I'm sorry. We will never get our schools back, and we'll never get those businesses back. That's okay. When the difficult decisions were made to close our schools, our families were offered choice, not as a means of sending our kids to private out-of-state boarding schools on the town dime, but to allow our working families to stay together during the day and to give our kids the best possible shot at integrating into their school communities. We are very fortunate then that the supervisory union governance structure allows us to support this reality. We are members of the White River Valley SU, where we are offered shared resources from the SU central office, as well as a voice at the larger SU board table. We are able as a board to find creative solutions to problems that directly help our families who are neighbors. They are our neighbors and we know them. We benefit from the shared resources of superintendent, a business manager, and technology support, amongst others. We work closely with these education professionals to find solutions to the problems our communities bring directly to us, which comprise everything from absenteeism and transportation to issues around food security and access to driver's ed. And because we were given this concession of school choice when we last consolidated and closed our schools, we as caregivers do not have to choose whether to educate our children or to earn a living. In the maps presented by the chair of House Ed a few weeks ago, Granville and Hancock were removed from the WRVSU and attached to a bigger Harwood district. Our small district would be dissolved and our children would be bused into Harwood's schools. That district's new board, which likely would objectively not include members from our small towns, would then decide the fate of the neighboring small schools around us and be allowed to close them. I want to stress one more time, in our towns, you'll find families who work in Middlebury, in Randolph, in Royalton, and in West Loud. All of those are over an hour's drive from Harwood schools. This is not tenable for our working families, who would then be upwards of 2 hours away when their kids are at school in Waterbury. And if school is called early for weather or for security issues or for illness, parents will have to lose work in order to accommodate drive to collect their children. Because of the nature of our necessary employment travel, this issue remains regardless of which district you place us in. So it doesn't, you can pick us up and put them in another district and it's still the same. Our livelihood just depends on this flexibility that we currently have. Now, I did want to add that I really appreciate the hard work you've done thinking through how to implement Act 73. Nobody understands the need for funding reform like the residents of our towns, which as Catherine knows, saw 2024 increases of nearly 40%. Granville's was the highest in the state, Hancock's was third. Still beat us by and those are for reasons beyond our control. We can discuss it later. It has to do with the CLA. And our residents are amongst those really calling for real tax reform. We were charged these increases in property taxes without having anything to show for it, as we don't operate a school. The tax relief was promised to us under Act 46, and it wasn't delivered. I hope you will strongly consider the fate of those of us in towns who have already had to make these decisions. I hope that you will maintain the supervisory union structure where it works effectively, which is in our most isolated towns. And I hope you will allow us to continue to make the decisions that serve our own family and those of our neighbors. Dissolving our SU and dropping us into a larger district would turn our employment deserts into ghost towns, while not guaranteeing tax relief and not serving our children. We may not operate a school building, but we have school children, and it is incumbent on you to implement legislation that does not ignore those children who are already amongst the most disenfranchised. In the printed testimony, I also included maps of Granville and Hancock with shading to show the percentage of land that is conserved, so that you can see where people actually are, where they can and can't go, and what actually constrains us, which I think is more useful than just looking at town boundaries sometimes.
It's much like Grand Isle.
It's not the same.
You got 100 on the north end and the south end, and then 125 to.
That's right.
In your testimony, that's it's very interesting because your testimony almost mirrors some of the testimony we heard, especially last year from residents of Essex. Because they have the same issue, and yet you're talking about the same thing they're talking about in a different part of the state.
Right dead center.
It's very interesting.
I promise I did not plagiarize. If you have any questions, then.
No,
I would like to make one, on the closing of the stores and that, it's like everything we're running into the state, we're getting smaller. So the school closing didn't really affect them closing. It was just that a small store can't make enough money selling a soda nowadays. Like,
There's some.
it might have had a little bit to do with it, but
It's a little cyclical for sure, but. Not factually, and I missed that.
Just like the whole,
Isn't it?
whole,
The whole, yeah.
hotels
For sure.
and I forget the name,
thank
they
you.
do
Thanks very much.
That was very helpful. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you can do that. Wow. Sure, we'll take a 5-minute break. So actually, if we can be back by 2:30, we'll